Good morning, fellow Cameroonians, and good afternoon in Yaounde, Douala, and in Garoua. The Constitutional Council this morning have surprisingly informed all political parties in Cameroon of a decision that they made late yesterday. They have informed them this morning officially. My name is Capo Daniel. I am the chairman of PRAP, the People's Right Advocacy Platform. So these are recent development and updates from the Cameroon Constitutional Court that has officially made a decision to reject the petitions that sought cancellation or partial annulation of the result of the Cameroon presidential election 2025 this year. We have just been informed by a party member, a very top high-ranking party member of one of the political parties in Cameroon of this development. It is now official. The ruling was made in Yaounde. The decisions undermine democratic principles and deny the electorate a free and transparent process. We have just been informed detailedly about the content of the decision that was made by the Constitutional Council. The president of the Constitutional Council, Clement Antangana, said in his decision that the decision he made, he said that this is what he stated. The proclamation of the presidential election will be made on Monday. In that decision, he also said that the submitted result by a LECAM final counting committee will stand and the election result will be announced on Monday. And we know that that result puts Paul Biya winning the election by 53 to 54% of the vote. The Chief Judge, Clement Atangana, who is the head of the Constitutional Council, has made a decision. His decision dismissed all the 8 petitions that was filed on behalf of Issa Chiruma and one filed in by Ndam Njoya, saying that the evidence presented to support the petitions were insufficient, according to his judgment. The evidence was insufficient, and even if their evidence was sufficient, the Constitutional Court lacks the jurisdiction to cancel or annul part of the presidential result, which is very strange. One would understand from the text of the Cameroon Constitution that these are the exact power that the Constitutional Court has. It does not just have to reconcile the legality, but it has the power to annul a result that is not legal. But he claims that the Constitutional Council does not have the power. So Issa Chiruma, we know in his last video statement, which he published on his Facebook page, he said, I quote, with their backs against the wall, the people will have no choice but to take their destiny into their own hands and seek victory wherever they can find it. That is the quote of the most significant quote of the last speech made by Issa Chiruma, which we have taken note, we have studied, we know his character, we know he's a lion man, he's a man of his word. So we also have confirmed that before this decision is made and in political party informed this morning, yesterday, there was a conversation. Paul Biya made a phone call to Issa Chiruma directly, not through his subordinate or lieutenant, but Paul Biya made a phone call to Issa Chiruma. He made that call. In that phone call, which we had predicted, which we had expected will happen, but it has happened so early. Paul Biya made a phone call before the judgment was made, proposing Issa Chiruma the position of Prime Minister and offer other ministerial position to the allies of Issa Chiruma. So and also includes in that phone call were proposition by Paul Biya for electoral reforms, and in exchange, Paul Biya demanded that Issa Chiruma should recognize the election result. So that phone call had been made. However, Issa Chiruma's camp have rejected that offer. Based on that, Issa Chiruma did not respond to Paul Biya, but his camp, his cabinet, his team has had a meeting and they rejected the offer. They view it as a move to undermine genuine democratic process in Cameroon. But we think that Cameroon is democratic in the first place. So we think the decision of the team of Issa Chiruma was a mistake in our own calculation. We should understand, and Cameroonians should understand, that the criminals within the regime who have been the cause, the sole cause of provocation and anger amongst the Cameroon people, do not want such injection of new opposition blood within the system that is going to shine light on what they are doing and hold them to account and improve the life of Cameroonians and the economic and the democratic atmosphere. And they don't want reforms in the system because they want the status quo to remain the way it is. Paul Biya offer is a smart move because if Issa Chiruma, once he rejects this offer outrightly, it will play against Issa Chiruma in the international community. And by offering this offer to Issa Chiruma so early, he knows that Issa Chiruma will not have time, will easily reject it. And then it is going to be very bad for Cameroon because, one, we must recognize that it is a fact that there is zero international pressure against Paul Biya or call for Paul Biya to vacate power. Despite his age, despite the economic situation of Cameroon, there is no international pressure on Paul Biya and no international statement has been made, contrary to some propaganda video I've seen. The international community reaction to Cameroon election has really been subdued if you look at it in comparison with the response of the international community to other elections, presidential elections across Africa. For instance, in 2024, the United States explicitly warned the imposition of visa restriction to specific individuals in Ghana, in the Ghana government, in the last administration, who were deemed and who were targeted by the public for undermining Ghana's elections. Ghana has a higher degree of democracy than Cameroon. Likewise, in 2023, the USA voiced strong concern about the Mali's military junta and their halt of election and their conduct during proposed election in Mali. Even in Tanzania, the last presidential election, the United States made a direct statement against the Tanzanian government. So all this highlights the type of pressure or reaction when the international community is pushing for democratic change in African countries, which we do not see them do in this case in Cameroon. They are not. There have been no statement from the United Nations, the African Union, African countries. Issa Chiruma even recognizes in his speech that his outreach to the neighboring countries in Chad, Nigeria, and Central Africa basically was not successful, and they basically told him that Cameroon's future remains in their hands. So, Issa Chiruma, our advice is that he should not be tempted to please his base or popular sentiment that currently exists that is naturally against any concession or negotiation within this regime. But he should rather, as a good leader, a good leader, always think further than the emotions. Always think about the welfare and well-being of the common man on the street. He has to think about that and how his decision and the position he takes is going to affect their life, and should bargain on their behalf and secure them a future they are going to be happy with, not an emotions they are going to be happy with today. And he will live the rest of his life as an opposition leader making noise outside like John Frundi and the rest have made. And John Frundi was humiliated, even defeated in his election in his village. We should make concessions to this new colonialist regime for the betterment of Cameroon. We should negotiate. Cameroonians do not possess what it takes to overpower the regime like other Africans they have. We have explained, Francophones don't want to die. They don't want to fight. Yes, they want change. They have expressed that they want change. But wanting change does not translate to the ability to make change happen. Look at the Cameroon military. They are full of drunkards who cannot even be counted upon to intervene in a military intervention. The military recruitment in other African countries is very vigorous. In Cameroon, military recruitment is not vigorous at all. So you have drunkard. The Francophone population as a whole, even though they desire change, their culture of resistance in Africa, which was admirable, have been poisoned by the France-Afrique injection of alcohol and laziness and entertainment in their culture. You don't expect them to fight. We need a long way to go to educate them. Issa Chiruma should rethink the offer made by him by Pobia and know that even the Pobia may want him to reject that offer. But it will be a good thing for him. The implication of this development are profound, whether you like it or not. The subdued international response right now will only embolden the Cameroonian government and people like Paul Atanganji within that government to maintain the status quo and entrench themselves, bringing in new scammers, new leviathans and vampires within that system. There will be more significant sidelining of the opposition going forward. Zero voice opposition in the parliament, the Senate, no matter what you said. The state is such a powerful institution that have very significant consequences of the life of people. We need the voice of the opposition, and we need that to come. That can only come with negotiation and concession made by the opposition. We must think about the poverty of our people and the lack of freedom for Cameroonians, freedom of expression, freedom of accountability. If we value these things so much, we must take decisions that will reflect what the people really need. This scenario put the anus of the opposition leader, Issa Chiruma, to leverage his political platform now and his support from all Cameroonians all over the world. Everybody knows that he is the sovereign choice of the people, to choose wisely without emotions, to push for the necessary reforms. Negotiations, he should push for negotiations with secessionist groups to end the Anglophone problem. Finally, he should advocate for citizens' right to express and journalists' right, and put in place institutional safeguards against abuse of power by people who did the things they did to Martinez Zogo. It is not a clear path forward for our people. It requires diplomatic resilience, strategic diplomacy from people like Issa Chiruma. We encourage all our listeners and those who pay attention to what we say and those who have influence over to be engaged and informed with what we are saying and take it seriously. In the past few days, we have engaged all our network of PRAP members and PRAP supporters and our advisors across the globe. And we have reviewed the position of our platform, which call for strategic negotiation by Issa Chiruma together with all the opposition leaders to sit down and negotiate with the regime in place. It is critical at this juncture. The People's Right Advocative Platform, PRAP, we strongly encourage Issa Chiruma to reconsider the offer made by President Paul Biya to make him the Prime Minister of Cameroon. This will automatically put the Anglophones next in line as the head of the Senate, the judiciary, to be the next in succession in Cameroon. That is symbolically very important to solving many of the problems in Cameroon. While this might look like a compromise and not a good news for many Cameroonians who listen to me and who follow PRAP, who believe in our vision and our commitment to principled activism. It presents a unique opportunity for us to push for meaningful reform in Cameroon that will directly affect the life of our people and facilitate the resolution of this, and to help us to make our refugees to return back home and our diaspora to be able to travel back home and political prisoners to be finally released. This is the only way. We support this. Issa Chiruma have the support of the majority of Cameroonians who seek change, and they are the majority. That is evidence today. The regime does not have that legitimacy within the people, but they have the power to sustain the regime in place. Rather than outright confrontation, Issa Chiruma, we urge him to leverage his position to push for these critical reforms and demands and avoid the mistakes of the past. The mistakes of past leaders like John Fundi, Ernest Nwani, who were uniquely placed that seek outright confrontation and outright victory. Issa Chiruma's political manifesto is fantastic. We all love it. It should be used as a basis for him and the opposition party to negotiate with the regime for the betterment of Cameroon. PRAP believes that this approach is not about conceding defeat, but about strategically improving the system that is crucial for the betterment, the comfort, and freedom of the common Cameroonian. History has taught us that outright rejection of negotiation and offer from governments can lead to prolonged suffering and misery in the life of the people. We don't want us to continue to miss opportunities for meaningful change. The failure of certain leaders to remain engaged in the political process after election have resulted to a lot of loss of opportunity. The regime in place have significant power over our life, over our administration, the printing of money, the setting of taxes, the facilitation of trade, employment of teachers. Government is a very powerful institution that we cannot leave in the hands of the Paul Atangangis and the likeness of whom we have yet to see. PRAP's stance is informed by deep understanding of Cameroon's history and Cameroon's struggle against the regime. I have been a fighter of this regime. I've chosen all means to fight this regime before we have come to the conclusion that we have. We recognize that peaceful negotiation is the best path forward, not the popular path, not just for the opportunity for the opposition, but for all Cameroonians, for goodness sake. It is about securing a better future of our children and our children's children, yet to be born in Bangante, in Oko, in Akwaya, in Garua. We urge Cameroonians to understand that the path of change is not always straightforward. It is a journey, and that negotiation are the steps that are necessary to alter the political landscape. We must understand that resistance will continue. Opposition will continue. It can only be strengthened or weakened depending on what is done at this critical juncture. We'll continue to bring you updates, push for our principle and our vision for one Cameroon, two people, for the betterment of Cameroon. God bless you all and have a wonderful day. Good morning, fellow